It's here from Pop Alternative, speaking to Jim Kaplan about The Holdovers, which is one of our favorite films of the year, nominated for multiple Academy Awards. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I mean, this is so exciting. I mean, the Academy Awards are right around the corner, so I feel like it's just been so crazy for you.
Yeah, I mean, so much has happened in the past like 6 months since the movie has come out. And yeah, it's been really exciting. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies of the year, one of my favorite movies for many years, not just of 2023. I love this movie. And I kind of want to know the audition process, because depending on the project, there's different kind of processes where you might know a lot about the project beforehand. Sometimes you know nothing. What did you know? Like, what was the audition process like for The Holdovers?
Yeah, so they actually sent me the full script for my audition, which I think was really important because knowing the context of everything, especially the audition scene, was really important. The audition process for me was really quick. Actually, I think I got my initial self-tape like 3 weeks before they started filming. And the initial self-tape was the scene where I'm crying in bed and I'm homesick. And it was open ethnicity initially, so I got to choose what accent I wanted to do, and I think the Korean accent just stuck because I'm Korean, I guess. So I did that scene, and then they invited me for a Zoom callback where they told me Alexander Payne is going to be there, and I was like, okay. So I am a little bit scared, but I go in and I was instantly very comfortable because he started off by saying, "Do you like movies?" And I am a huge movie buff, like I'm a huge like film geek, and I said, yeah, and I played into it. I was like, I'm doing this like Stanley Kubrick watch through right now, and then he said, oh, you got to see Dr. Strangelove if you haven't. And I said, okay, well, I'll make sure to check that out. And we did the scene, and something which has never happened to me before is he offered me the part in the audition.
Wow.
Because usually, you need to wait like a few days.
Yeah, and then like you don't hear anything, and you assume that it's like, okay, on to the next, right?
But he was just like, so do you want, I think he said, do you want to be in the movie? And I was just like, yeah. Then he said, okay, I guess I'll see you in a few weeks then, and look forward to it. And then the Zoom ended, and I was like, oh,
and then the rest was history. You went and you filmed it and everything, which is insane. The thing I wanted, you mentioned, your scene with Dominic with, being homesick. That's like one of my favorite scenes of a movie. Like, that's so good. But it's so important. We're going to get to that. But before that, I mean, I think the cool thing is like, what was it like kind of filming at the school? Like, was it a real school? Like, was it crazy just being like 4 people just like in this big school alone? Like, I'm just curious what that whole process like was.
Yeah. I mean, we filmed at, I don't remember exactly how many different boarding schools, but there were at least like 4 or 5 of them. So it was every week getting to know a different campus and using different spaces. But I felt like we used very specific rooms for very specific scenes. And, I'm a senior in high school, so I'm doing like college tours right now. And that process felt kind of similar of just getting to know different campuses or like how a school is set up. And we actually did our like homeschooling in classrooms, which made it very easy to get into character because we know we were already doing work. So then, oh no, we have to go study for a scene. Oh, okay. Like it's all good. Yeah, and there were especially the scene, like the big scenes, like the scene in the chapel in the beginning. It was really fun getting to talk to everyone and like see like how like from different areas, like there were locals and yeah.
And to kind of add to that, I'm just curious. You can answer this for your stuff specifically because I feel like if you ask your castmates and everyone else, they have different kind of answers to this. But what was the pace like filming The Holdovers for you specifically? Like, was it kind of like an overall kind of consistent pace? Was it kind of like faster sometimes and slower sometimes? I'm just curious about that.
I think for me, because I am coming from a theater background, it took me a while to get adjusted to the idea of acting for the camera because it's so much more subtle. Like being confused on stage is like this big thing, but on camera you can just do something so tiny and it speaks volumes. And I think figuring that out on the first day where I had a close-up shot and I had to just react to a bunch of things took some time, but over time I think it got easier for me, and then I ultimately had to do less and less takes as it went on. But it really depends on the scene.
Theater is really where you learn your craft. I wasn't a theater performer myself, but I was always on stage crew. Like I was the follow spot operator for my high school productions and everything. Is there not a rush the day of a theater performance? Like you wake up in the morning, you're like, wow, we're performing in front of people. Like it's like the best feeling, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I think it's really different in theater because you have to just like for 2.5 hours, however long the show is, just kind of give energy out. And it's this consistent thing, whereas film, you're starting and stopping so much. So you have to like mentally reset, which doesn't really happen
Yeah.
in theater. With something to get used to. Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to ask, I just wanted to know, like, what was it like working with Dominic? What was it like working with, the whole cast? Paul specifically. I mean, Dominic, you have an amazing scene. Like, what was that like? Kind of, what were those conversations like specifically?
Well, Dominic also comes from theater, a theater background, which is something we talked about. And he said something to me that I've never forgotten because it was so fascinating. He told me that one of his favorite mediums of acting is black box theater because it's this kind of hybrid between film and like a big theater where you get to be so subtle but still in a theater environment. And it's really like acting for the camera but on a stage. And after that, I was like, oh my God, like that's so interesting. And I did these acting intensives over the summer where we got to, work in black box theaters. And I was like, no, he's so right. This is so interesting. And I mean, yeah, I mean, Paul, and the thing with Paul is he's so smart. He's so well read. And he and Alexander, I mean, Alexander too, they were talking about just stuff that was beyond my level of intelligence. So then I tried, and they were talking about like Russian lit or just like books at one point, and I was like, I like Vonnegut. I was trying to sound smart. Like, I like Slaughterhouse-Five. That's a good book. And Paul was like, oh, I love that. You need to read Iron the Titan. That's my favorite Vonnegut. And I was like, yeah, I read. No. And I just geeked out with Alexander about film in general. I remember there was this one day on set, I was talking to him about horror. And then we started talking about giallo, like Italian horror, for which was like a really fun conversation.
So you're a huge, because I'm a big horror movie guy too. Are you a big horror movie guy?
I'm a huge fan.
Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, when Black Phone came out, I was texting Brady. I was like, oh my God. Because that came out after we filmed. So I was like, Brady, like, I'm so into this movie that you're in. I love horror.
All right, so we have to pause the holdovers part of this interview for a little bit. What are some are you one of those people, like, do you watch a lot of them? Like, obviously you have like time is limiting in a lot of ways, right? While you're filming school and everything, but like, do you watch a lot of horror movies?
I watch a lot of horror movies.
What was one case? We did a list of our favorite horror movies of 2023 on popturnip.com, and it was one of the hardest like lists for me to do because there were so many. But my favorite movie of the year was Thanksgiving. Did you see Eli Roth Thanksgiving?
I didn't. I have to be honest, this year, because of college applications, it's been hard for me to stay up to date. I mean, last year I really stayed up to date because last year was, I think, one of the most stacked years for horror.
Oh yeah.
With like Pearl X, Nope, and
Smile.
Yeah, it was really incredible. I don't know, this year, I mean, Talk to Me
is one of my favorites of the year. Yep.
Skinamarink.
These are on my list.
I adore Skinamarink. I think it's so scary and it does so much with so little.
Yeah.
Because
the Blair Witch Project, the original, is like one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and it's terrifying. And another one too is like it's not found footage, but like The Strangers with Liv Tyler is like the original. Like, what is scarier than that movie if you think about it?
It is really scary, and I do like the new one, The Strangers Pray at Night too. Yes. I really like that one.
Oh, I love that one too. There's a new one coming out as well too, which is.
I saw that. I'm really excited for that.
It's crazy, but yeah, if you have a chance and you're gonna go like watch a horror movie, that you have like a 2-hour window to put one on, do Thanksgiving, Eli Roth Thanksgiving.
I've been meaning to check that one out.
Because the thing is, and it's interesting because it kind of goes with the next question that I'm gonna ask about the holdovers is. There's this like, and I think horror movies are doing this now too. And like Thanksgiving and Megan are the two that come to mind with this. It's like, it's very immersive the way like the cinematographers like film these movies. Like when you watch Thanksgiving, you're going to see certain scenes. I don't want to give much away, but like you feel like you're with the characters with just the certain camera angles and the up and down. And you're like following them like a video game almost. You know what I mean? So, like, can we give a shout out to the cast and like the crew of the holdovers and the cinematographers? It looks so good.
I know. I remember like when I saw the first images from it, I was like, oh my God. And I didn't know it was gonna have the 70s like look, because when I looked at the monitor, it was shot digitally. I was like, oh, it's like a movie. And then I saw the trailer. I actually was in the class when the trailer dropped, so I like left class to go watch it, and I was like, "Oh my God, it looks like it's shot on film," and I was so shocked by that. And yeah, it's so immersive. I mean, Alexander is so detailed. He was like, give him a different book, he wouldn't be reading that, or like turn that toothbrush 25 degrees this way, and oh, turn that like pop can this way. He's so specific with everything,
Yeah,
and I think it's so great.
Getting back to horror movies very quickly, because I know you did a movie with Judah Lewis. Have you seen Summer of '84? Have you seen one of his films, Summer of '84? It's a horror movie.
I am a huge fan of his work, and like the Babysitter movies and I See You
Yes.
with Helen Hunt. It was like the third week of filming with him, and I just tell him, I'm like, Judah, I have to be completely honest. I was so starstruck when I met you. I am such a huge fan.
You should watch Summer of '84. Is like a Stranger Things, like who done it almost. Like it's the crime on the street, kid goes missing, and it's a small town, and it's incredible. Like it's one of my favorites.
I need to check that out. Yeah.
The Academy Awards are right around the corner. I mean, they're tomorrow. You know what I mean? Which is wild. I mean, are there words to describe being part of a film that has so much love and so many nominations and just high praise? Like, I'm just wondering, like, what's going for you with that?
I mean, it's awesome. It feels unreal because it feels like it happened so fast because it doesn't feel like that long ago that the first trailer came out and the first like release date was announced, which was like, almost like 2 years ago now. And I just am so grateful that I got to be a part of it. And every single time I like see clips from the movie, like on Instagram, or I'm just like, oh my God, wait, I'm in that. I can't even believe that I'm part of this incredible like thing that exists. And yeah, I think it's incredibly touching, and I think it's resonated with a lot of people, which I think is awesome.
Perfect segue to the last question. Tons of elements why I love this movie, but I'm just curious, from someone that worked on it, read the script, went and filmed it, right? Is there an element that you think is making it so relatable, making it so popular? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of elements, if you know what I mean, Jim.
Yeah, I think coming out of COVID, especially where we're all isolated, it's really relatable to feel lonely on the holidays. And I think that was something that both the youth and older generations could relate to. And I think also the aesthetic really, really got people excited about it because people love nostalgia. And I think that caused a lot of excitement for the film in general. And
100%. It's great. You did an amazing job. Congratulations. And it's incredible. Academy Awards right around the corner, multiple awards, nominations. Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show. So great chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Your Instagram account is just your name if people want to keep up to date with everything, right?
Yeah, I think it's like Jim_Kaplan_ or something.
Yeah, and then they put Jim Kaplan. They'll find it. Yeah. It's awesome. Okay. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Jim Kaplan and PD Beats.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.